In today's episode, we have Valeria Kadelski, who is a career coach and business mentor. Valeria, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Very happy to be here. So I am Valeria, but everybody calls me Val, so please do. And I've been living abroad for 10 years now, mostly in Denmark, in Copenhagen. But before that, I also had a brief experience in California. And what I do now is that I coach and mentor expats that have been abroad for a while. And as you said, maybe have worked in an industry or worked in certain environments like corporate, for example, for many years, and then they realize they want more out of their work life and their career. They want something that aligns more with their passions. So I help them get there, basically. I help them through that transition that can be sometimes very big and scary, and I just guide them through the process from getting a clear understanding of what they want to do next. And most often, I work with people that, as you mentioned, want to do their own thing and open their own business, and basically help them with the steps on how to actually do the transition. So that's what I do now. But before that, I worked 7 years in the tech industry across different commercial roles. So from marketing to sales to customer success, which I spent the last few years in, until I also decided to transition to something that was more aligned to my passion. So here I am.
All right, that's a great introduction, very concise and to the point.
Trying to
Yeah,
be.
yeah. Thank you. Okay, so the audience can put you on the map now and can understand your value and how you can provide tips. So if we break it into two halves, so one being
Yeah.
customer success and the other one talking more about your current business, let's start with customer success, which was the way you started working in Denmark, right? Because you're not originally from Denmark, you're from Italy.
Yeah.
So if you can explain to me what is the role in customer success. So for example, what is the typical project, typical client? How do you solve it?
Yeah. Yeah. So just a quick clarification. Actually, I started in sales as my first job, but that is something that helped me a lot for customer success. And I'm going to explain why it's helpful actually to have a commercial background, also for people that are considering, transitioning or moving from something else into customer success. And then I transitioned to it. I moved around a lot in the 7 years that I worked here. But back to your question into customer success. So customer success is basically what the word explains, is like you taking care of existing customers of a business and making sure that basically they keep renewing their contract and they keep buying from the company. So said very, very simple ways. So projects are usually around the core offering that the company sells, and it's a role that started, like, was born mostly in software as a service companies, but now you can find it also in other realities that are not necessarily software, because it's a role that over the, I think, past 15, 20 years grew a lot of importance, because companies realized that it was quite important that customers were happy
Yeah.
and retaining them year over year. And I think now the role of customer success, before it was sometimes confused with a form of advanced support in a way that was more like helping the customer with technical requests. Whereas what I see more recently and what I've experienced as well is that it's much more commercially driven. So actually, you need to be able to understand very deeply the business of the customer that is buying the product or service, and making sure that you are capable of delivering that value for which they bought. And that's the core of what customer success
Okay.
is.
So it's
Yeah.
being very aware of the business of your customer and the solutions you offer
Yes.
to serve as a
Yes.
bridge in order to,
Exactly.
of course, make your client happy and
Yes.
successful. All
Exactly.
right.
hmm
Good explanation.
Yeah.
And for example, in your case, in tech, in software
Mhm.
as a service, how can
Yeah.
someone build a career in customer success?
Yeah. So as I hinted at before, I think if you have a background in sales, for example, That could be, account executive, account manager, anything that relates to selling to customer. I think that is a very natural segue because it is something that you will still somehow have to do. It just happens that the customer is already using the product. But over the year, you basically have to keep selling the promise of which the customer bought the product. So it is some form of sales. It's just maybe less aggressive in terms of, going out there and finding new clients because your clients are already there. So I think that if you show that you can very easily understand the business model of your customers, of the customers of the business, then it's definitely an advantage because you will be better at speaking their language and translate what the product they bought does for them in their business. Because at the end of the day, nobody cares about features if
Yeah.
they don't help them solve a real problem they have internally in their own company. So I think the most successful people in customer success are the ones that have a very high business acumen or like understanding of different industries as well, which is also why I think if you, for example, come from the consulting industry, that is also very easy, I think, transition because you can translate a lot of those competencies that you've had from consulting different kind of companies into customer success. The added part is that you have to learn a bit about a specific product rather than offering maybe a quite more generic type of services or
Hmm.
projects. So yeah, to recap, I think what makes you successful is being able to understand the customer's business, being able to speak the language, being able to explain what the product that you're selling does in a way that solves what they need to achieve rather than, just explaining a bunch of
Yeah.
features.
It's
Yeah,
what can I do for you? Not I know
basically,
this, I
yes.
know that. No, how does that help
Yeah,
me, basically? Okay.
exactly, yes,
All right.
yes.
That's a good summary. And of course, when we talk about customer success, we also imply talking about the customers on a local base, I understand, right? In Denmark, or was it international?
I've always worked in very international environments, and actually, unless unless you want to work for a very locally based company, most, at least in tech, most tech companies are quite international because, I mean, if you need to think about that, it's a B2B, right? It's business to business. So the Danish market in terms of businesses is quite limited because Denmark is a small country. So most of these companies, especially selling software, so that is not, it doesn't matter where you are because it's a software, you can use it anywhere. They usually want to expand internationally. So it is a very good industry to target if you are an international moving to Denmark for the first time, because those are companies that are used to hire internationals or people that speak different languages. Because if they want to expand in a specific market, then you speaking different languages is actually a benefit. I think here, especially, I mean, of course, you have also customer success managers that deal with the local market, and of course, they need to know Danish. But there's a lot of business with Germany. So German language is
Hmm.
something that is requested quite often. French as well, Spanish, Italian. So basically, yeah, the main spoken languages in Europe, they're quite sought
Okay.
after.
So that was
Yeah.
exactly my point. So even though you're in a tech company and they hire internationals,
Mhm.
you are still required, or is very, let's say, it's very recommended to have more languages. Otherwise, customer success will just be with UK and the US, right?
I mean, yes, in a sense that, of course, if you, for example, if you come from the US or the UK and all you speak is English, unless you find a company that focuses on that market specifically, and maybe they also want someone that reasons in a certain way and like, understands the cultural differences of making business with, for example, US companies, it might be a bit more difficult, but not impossible because again, all the companies I worked for, the office language was English. And I find that if we're talking about this specific role in this specific industry in tech, there's not as much, for example, Danish language requirements as other industries and other
Okay.
roles outside because of the nature of the industry being very international. But if I have to answer overall, learning the local language is obviously
Yeah.
always advantage.
All right.
Yes.
I agree. For any kind of job, yeah. And also because you're living there,
Yes.
right? So it makes sense to integrate in the country.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
to close this topic of the customer success, what is a
Yeah.
salary range someone can expect working in customer success in tech
Yeah.
in Copenhagen, let's say for 3 to 5 years experience?
Yeah. I mean, that can vary a lot actually, because it depends on the size of the company. If it's a small startup, or if it's a scale up or towards corporate, of course, they tend to pay more, and of the seniority of the role. But I would say for like a junior CSM, that could be from 30,000 Danish krona per month to, yeah, 45
Was that in euros?
maybe. Okay, so let's say the whole range would be per year between like 65,000 euro to maybe 135,000 euro across seniority, across different companies.
Okay.
So you understand that can vary a
Yeah.
lot, right? Because it can literally be double. So, then of course, usually you have junior CSM or just like entry level, mid level, which is like generally speaking, customer success managers. You have senior, sometimes you have principal customer success managers, and all of those roles, including, for example, my last role, it was more of a operations type of role. So that is also maybe on the more senior level. And yeah, the salary can vary a lot, especially because you can have some companies using a commission scheme as well, kind of like sales.
Ah,
And some others instead have mostly a base and then maybe just a smaller percentage. So kind of hard to give you one specific number, but that is the range.
okay. I
Yeah.
see. Thank you for providing that. And people always ask me, okay, good to know salary ranges, but what about cost of living? So if we can say
Mm.
how that salary range can translate into the Copenhagen way of living, do you think they are good salaries in customer success? Like you can live a comfortable life in Copenhagen, like you can have a
Yeah.
okay apartment, social life.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. I think, I mean, I had done that. So for me, I would say yes. I know, like, for example, I mean, Copenhagen and generally Denmark is the cost of living is quite high. I think it's one of the highest in all Europe. We also pay lots of taxes. So your salary, these are like gross salaries, but then of course you need to get the taxes out, and what you have left, it's not as much as you would like. But I think you can definitely live a very comfortable life, and tech in general is an industry that pays among the highest salaries. The If you want to see the downsides of it, is that it also changes a lot. So there's a lot of like, yeah, changes you need to be okay with in terms of, restructuring and
Hmm.
figuring things out, and maybe you do more things than just your role. And, it can be quite, yeah, it's fun also, but it can also be, you need to be okay with
Yeah.
change, let's say. And, but I mean, I know sometimes you talked about one bed, like cost of, for example, one bedroom places. There's not a lot of those in Copenhagen by default. It's actually quite hard to find a studio apartment. They don't, they just don't build them anymore because it's not convenient for
Yeah.
them to actually, rent these out, and they can be quite expensive. So it's more common that people share apartments with others and find rooms rather than full studio apartments.
What can
Yeah,
be
and they can be
the
cheaper.
cost of a room in a shared apartment?
If you're really lucky, it could be from, let's say, 5,000 krona to like 6, 7,000 krona. And now I'm gonna tell you the
Yes,
conversion
please.
because I understand that that can be, but let's say between 550 euro to 700
Okay.
euro per month for a room. But if you want to have like a studio apartment, there's no way that you can find anything less than 1,200 euro.
Okay.
And they may be quite small still, like maybe they are, let's say, 30 square meter, and maybe they're part of buildings where you have like a common kitchen
Oh, wow.
with the floor, for example. And so, yeah, you can see then why people then opt for a room rather than
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
a single
I can see.
apartment. Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
Thanks for sharing. So we close
sure.
that topic of customer success and specifically in Copenhagen. And now I'm very interested to know about your current business because
Hmm.
it sounds very difficult for me how you go from an idea to something real. So because I understand,
Yeah.
well, maybe people don't even come at you with an idea yet, right? They just know that they
Mm,
want to do
yeah,
something, but they don't have an idea.
yeah,
So
yeah.
please explain to me what is your typical client, your typical
Hmm.
project, and how you help them.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you said it very well. It depends, right? Some people come to me where they just feel a sense of misalignment with the careers that they've had so far. And it's not that they're necessarily unhappy with them, but when you end up, especially as an expat, we end up often going abroad and just getting whatever job we can find that helps us stabilize in the country, and just make a living out of it. And that can be also fine for a while, and we learn a lot from it. But then usually there's a moment that it happens that you realize that that's not really the life you imagine for yourself abroad, and maybe you want more, and maybe you want something that actually makes you feel excited to go to work. So these are the people that usually come to me, and they are also people that, because they're so ambitious, they have maybe been thinking about doing their own thing for a while, and maybe they have an idea, but it's very vague. It's kind of like, I want to do something creative, or I would like to be a freelancer. But it's, from there to actually do something with it, there's quite a few steps. And of course, if you don't know where to start or you don't know what you need to do, it can be quite daunting and scary. So what we do together is that first we define, okay, what is that you really want to do? Like what is the direction you want to take? So we spend some time focusing on what you already have as part of your skills, your strengths, your experiences. So without having to say, okay, oh, I miss XYZ, so obviously I need to do that first. Most of the time, that's not needed. You already have everything you need. You have, as an expert, a huge baggage of experience and advantages that other people don't have that we can use to get you to, building your own thing. So we look at those. And then basically I help them with, understanding how they can translate that clear idea into something they can sell and make money from. Because at the end of the day, that's what you need to do to have a business, right? Otherwise, it's just a nice hobby. So we go through, okay, understanding how to create an offer, how to put it out there, how to get visibility, how to gain the first feedback and reiterate and test, and then do everything in a sustainable way so that you also don't feel that you're, running like behind or you need to do a billion of things, but it's something that you can build step by step. And I had some clients that came to me and said, I think next year I would like to get to freelancing. And then after the 3 months that we worked together, it's like, I'm doing it now. Like I am now becoming a freelancer and I have already clients. And then they maybe even moved to a different country in the meantime and they did that. And then I have some other clients that are like, oh, I need a job because I need a job to, pay my bills, but I have this other dream. And so maybe we worked on, okay, let's get you a job. And then in the meantime, let's build on this passion project that you have. And so they've built that in the meantime. And now, they're yeah, they're doing that and they're much more fulfilled also in their other jobs. So there's different outcomes depending on what stage of your career you are
I
at.
see.
But that's what I find very exciting from
No,
my
it is for
standpoint
sure.
anyway.
It sounds a lot
Yeah.
like ikigai. Are you familiar with that concept?
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Yeah. Yeah.
Japanese word
Yes.
that is
Mm-hmm.
the purpose of like right, your purpose, like the
Yeah.
intersection between. Correct me if I'm wrong. Eh?
Mm-hmm.
Between what you
Yeah.
like, what you're good at, what the world
Yes.
needs, and what
Mm-hmm.
people can pay you for. Right? It's an intersection
Yeah.
of four people. So it's very similar to what you're
Yeah.
doing, right?
Kind
You're
of.
working with
Mm-hmm.
people to kind of find their ikigai. Is it like that?
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, I mean, I actually never thought about that connection, but yeah, it makes sense. That is basically what we do. What so I have two type of way that I work with my clients, and I work individually with those clients that, as you said at the beginning, they have maybe a bit more confused ideas and they may not even sure that they want to do their own thing. Maybe they do, but maybe they don't. So then we work on a more personal level and we take a bit of a bigger approach, and some of them end up not doing their own thing, but maybe they change complete industry or something like that. But then I have this group coaching program, and that is very focused on people that are sure they want to do their own thing. And actually, how I called it is passion to profit, because I I basically, I guess it's two parts of that ikigai quarter, which is, what you love to do and what you can get paid, because the other two things I think fall into place, meaning what the world needs, if you can sell it, that means that somebody needs that at some point,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the other two things I think kind of like fall under two. So I guess instead of four, I just use 2 points, but the concept is similar.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah.
And one thing that I struggle to see is because what you were mentioning is you have very different clients, right? Like you don't have
Yes.
the typical one that, for example, wants to go from corporate to having a painting studio or something like that. It's not like that, right? It's different
I
from
mean, could be.
every client to another. So,
Yes.
how do you work with such different cases? What's your strategy?
Yeah, that is a very good question. Yes, just to give you an example, I've had people that were working in like software development that have a passion for singing. And then I had people that worked in brand management and marketing and that became freelancer, but in the same, environment. So it can, the type of transformation depends a lot on the person and also their background, as you said. And I think the key here is not about the area of expertise that these people have. It's about the process. So what I'm expert in, I'm not expert in their own field because I cannot possibly be an expert in, you know,
Yeah,
marketing and
singing. Yeah.
engineering and everything, right? I mean, I do sing in my free time, but I'm not expert. It's fine, So, and that is what is great because these people, they are the experts in their own field. What I am expert in is the process of the transformation and how you can take something that you've worked with for a long time, but you're not sure how to transform into something else. Like, how do you transfer those skills, for example, from your work in a company, in corporate, in, I don't know, engineering to maybe making it as a independent artist, right? There are some things that you can definitely use in your skill set for both things. It's just really hard to see it before you actually do it. And most of the time, people um, they're a bit scared because it is scary. I mean,
Hmm.
because if you do it alone as well, then you need to really go a bit on either exploration phase, and then it might take many years, like it took me many years to actually transition because I was doing it by myself, or you can do it with someone that helps you with the process and tells you, okay, you know what, you don't have to just do a big step. We can take it in smaller little steps, and that becomes manageable and you see progress while you do it instead of having to jump and take this leap that people talk about. I really don't
Yeah,
like that
I
concept
see.
of you need to take the leap, jump, quit your job and just do
Yeah, from
whatever.
zero to
No, like
100 in one day. Yeah.
yes, like there's no need to do that. You can build something sustainably and progressively and figuring it
Hmm.
out while you
So
do
your
it.
business is, if I put it very simple, the way you work is asking good questions, then breaking down the
Hmm.
problem and establishing
Yes.
accountability. Let's say, like you said, you're gonna do this,
Yeah.
and I'm here to ask you if you're doing it. Something like that, right?
Yeah. Yes. I
But it's
basically,
mainly
I think
questions,
that,
right?
I mean, I think it's both because so as you also introduced me, I call myself both coach and mentor, and that's because I like to blend the two disciplines together. In coaching, you usually just ask a lot of questions, but you don't give a lot of directions
Uh
either.
huh.
And in mentoring, you do give maybe more direction. And I think I like to put the two different hats depending on what's needed because for the exploration phase to understand what you really want to do and where you would like to end up and that vision for your life, I think coaching is perfect because it allows you space to actually explore what you really want. But then I also think that if you come to work with me, it's also because you know I've done this before. I have a process, I have a framework that I follow that other people have used and they've successfully done that. So why would I not use that to help you and to give you resources that can help you speed up the whole process? So I think that is a bit of
That's
both. So
important.
if
Yeah.
I would dare to, yeah, to recap, it would be, I think, a mix of, you know, clarity, exploration, strategy, and then action planning.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what I
I
what I
like your
do.
point about how you establish trust and why people trust you, because I think everyone knows that there is a big trend of a lot of people becoming coach,
Mm,
and there's a lot
yeah.
of people selling smoke, like we say in Spain, like
Yes.
people that
Yes.
will be your coach but never really mastered what they're teaching, right? So how can
Yes.
someone become a coach, and what separates a good coach from a bad one in your experience?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. It's like a lot of responsibility of me saying what is a good
It's your
coach and a bad
chance.
coach. But I will, no, I will share my opinion. And of course, I mean, I agree with you that unfortunately, with everything, there's people that do things with, of course, some also, ethics and, doing it in good faith, and other people that are not. So I think that the first thing would be to certainly have some form of education because I when I got interested into coaching, first of all I talked to a lot of coaches out there to understand what what do they actually do and like what how do they work, and I already there understood what I liked about it and like what kind of coach I would want to be eventually. I got coached myself because you need to understand what you're getting into before you're even doing it yourself. And then I enrolled in a certified coach by this coaching program, which is this there's basically this institution that's called International Coaching Federation, which is the most recognized institution in coaching in terms of education and training. And so the courses that are certified with them are following a certain code of ethics and standards also for, the relationship of client coach, because people will tell you a lot of very deep things. And of course, a lot of that it can be, quite vulnerable as well. And you need to make sure that you're treating them with the respect and the attention that that deserves. So I certified myself first with the first level course and then an additional career coaching course, and now I am enrolled in a business coaching course myself because I also believe that for me to be a good coach for my clients, I need to have a coach so that I can be good in what I do. So I believe in this continuous education to get better and better in my craft. And I think that any good coach should do the same because at the end of the day, you do learn from other people. And if you don't invest yourself in what you're selling, credibility kind of goes down, doesn't it? It's like practice what you
Yeah.
preach at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
yeah, indeed.
So I think that that would be the baseline, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
And to be hands-on, to take it down to earth, can you give me an example of the biggest transformation or the biggest success story you have from a recent client?
Yeah. It's honestly, okay, now it may sound a bit like, but I do love all the transformations that my clients have because they're so different and they're no, they're very like the people that I got to work with, I have to be honest, I was very lucky because they're all extremely dedicated, hardworking people. So they really achieved a lot and more than probably what I thought that they would. So, and it's on them, clearly. But I think so recently, I worked with someone who came to me was right after a burnout experience from her previous role. And so she was out of a job, so she needed to find something. But of course, she had a bit of a hesitation in terms of finding the right place for her because of this previous experience that can be quite impactful, right? And at the same time, again, she had this personal dream, like passion job of actually becoming a video game singer.
Video game singer. Wow.
Yes, so it's very, very niche, something very specific. And when she told me, I was so excited because I'm like, this is so great. It's something new. I love it. I also love everything that's creative, and creative people are they have a special place in my heart. Um, so we worked together on two different paths at the same time. So we worked with her to find her a job that would allow her to go and earn money so that she could, you know, pay her rent and like earn, but that also fit the kind of environment that she wanted to have, where people were collaborative, where she would be recognized for her work, where she felt that she was having an impact in her work. And then on the other side, we worked on a plan for which she could go out and basically start producing music and finding collaborators to start getting into the industry and putting her music out there. So by the end of the 3 months that we worked together, she found a job where she was very happy and she could detach much more from the reality. So she felt like she could finally just, go to work, be herself, and then once that was done, she could work on her project and she wrote several songs and she reached out to people and started working with them. And I think that that is incredible because from the place that where she started, where she was still, you know, after a very, very heavy experience of that can be burnout, and also thinking that her passion project was never something she could even remotely consider
Yeah.
to actively doing it.
Never heard about.
And you actually, if you're curious, actually, because I have a few videos on my website of my clients talking about their experience, and she's one of the ones that I have on my website. So you can, if you're curious, you can go and check her out, like,
Absolutely,
and check
yeah.
what
It
she
sounds
says.
interesting.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
leave it in the description
Hmm.
for people that
Yeah, for
can
sure.
also check. Great. Okay. So we close the topic now, the episode
Hmm.
of your current business,
Yes.
and we're reaching now towards the end of the podcast. But before we finish, I always like to ask three quick questions that also need
Hmm.
three quick answers. The first one is
Try my best.
yes. The first one is your favorite local food. In your case, in Denmark.
Yeah. So this is gonna be a bit controversial because it's not necessarily a dish, but we call it BMO, which is bolle med ost, which is simply a bun with cheese. And I know it's like it's that
Okay.
thing. It is a thing because when you go out for breakfast at bakeries, they have like their own buns, like, bread buns, and then you can put like butter and cheese. But the cheese is also like it's like a very strong, very thick cheese. And
It's like
so
raclette, something like that,
it's
no?
no, yeah, but it's like a slice, so it's not like melted
Ah,
or
okay.
anything. It's just like a slice of cheese like on top,
Simple.
like that. Simple, simple. It's simple, but trust me, it's delicious. And butter and cheese is something that Denmark does very well, in my opinion. And with one of my friends at some point, we were touring all the different bakeries to basically rate which one had the best BMO.
All right.
So and if anyone wants, my favorites are Hans and Hart Bakery. Just
Give it a try next time
if
I'm
anyone
there.
wants. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
The second one is one book that you recommend.
So I think the book that really made an impact for me, but on a personal level, is a book by Brené Brown. It's called The Gift of Imperfection. And it talks about how shame sometimes has a very big impact on how we live our life and how we also interact with people and how we really have a hard time dealing with being imperfect. And I think that is a very interesting read for anyone that wants to improve on their self-development and just have different perspective. I think it's a lovely book to read.
All right.
Yeah.
And the last one is the best advice you ever received.
Yeah, I received a lot of good advice. So it's hard to pick one, but I would say that you don't necessarily have to get hype to to progress, like to succeed. You can do that honestly. Like you can do that with honesty. Meaning, I don't know if like in my world there's a lot of people, for example, like on LinkedIn. I know you're also a lot on LinkedIn. Like there's a lot of like, oh, gurus here, gurus there, and you need to get like hype things up and like go viral and things like that. But you can actually do run a business with a lot of honesty and just like being yourself and just being authentic without necessarily hyping things up because they're cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
it
And
does.
I, and that's something I take very to heart because that's how I want my business to be. Like I want people to meet me and see, oh, yes, that
You're
matches
the same
exactly what
person,
I've been.
exactly.
Yeah, you're the same person that I imagine you would be when I read your
No, that's a
stuff.
good one.
That's
Especially
basically it.
today, with a lot of social media, a lot of people
Yeah,
are
yeah,
not the same person, or it doesn't match what they are on
exactly.
the internet. And actually, it's a
Yes.
compliment nowadays if you say, "Hey, you look exactly like your pictures," or you are.
Yes, actually, I've been okay. Now, maybe this is gonna be opening a Pandora's box, but some people told me that I look older in my profile picture on LinkedIn than I appear in real life, and that hurt my feelings a little bit. But I will take it as a compliment, meaning maybe I look younger in person. So that's,
Better to
there's
look
two
younger in
ways to look
person
at
than
it,
in pictures, to be honest.
right? I would say so. I would say
Yeah,
so.
yeah,
But yeah,
that's a good
anyway.
one. And it's actually, the most repeated advice that I've got in all the episodes, which is be yourself. Like,
Yeah.
be your true self and don't fake a profile, neither in real life
Mm,
or in social media.
no.
So,
Also, it's exhausting. I mean, it is exhausting to just not be yourself. Like it takes an enormous amount of energy. I
and it
don't,
takes you nowhere,
there's,
right?
there's,
Because all the people that
no.
like that version of you, they don't like you.
Yeah.
You want people to like
Yeah.
you.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. 100%.
Super. So, thank you very much, Val, for the episode. It was great to have you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Juanma, for having me. It was lovely to talk to you.